Get up. It's time to dance, y'all. Relax. It's your favorite podcast. We're back. Pour your favorite drink. Alcohol, non-alcohol, whatever you feel. We don't discriminate around here. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Shout out to the artist, Ian Kolosky on this track. We'll make sure to tag him on social media. So, yeah, man. Bounce. You don't got to be the best dancer, right? Everyone's born with rhythm, right? Some more than others. But you can always do the two-step or just the bounce, right? Just left to right, left to right, left to right. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Today it is episode 10 of Real Talk with Coach Q and
brokerwes.
All right. Yes, it is June 18, 2021. Jeez, Wes, this year is going by fast.
It hasn't slowed down yet?
No, it has not. I mean, I've been praying for it, but no, man. It seems like it's just going by faster and faster. Oh, my gosh. Now, before we start the show, we got to do our quick introductions. So, my name is qierrerealestate, also known as Coach Q. I am a realtor. I get the honor and the privilege of helping people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And I'm also a coach, where I get to coach agents, build them up with those skills necessary to build successful real estate careers. And I'm also going to share with my business partner, Mr. West, so he can do his intro about what he does.
West, y'all. So my name is Wes Oliver. You can call me Broker Wes. I am the mortgage guru, the money man, the bringer of rain. And I love helping families and individuals understand their options for financing property to best help them fit into their overall financial picture and blueprint for the lifestyle.
I love that. Yes. Give it up for the mortgage guru. Dang, I like that, man. I gotta come up with something cool like that. I love that. So we always start out with a success tip, and today I want to share a quote from Mr. 50 Cent, also known as Curtis Jackson, from his audiobook and his book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. And he talks about fear. And he talks about how your fears can be kind of a prison that confines you within a limited range of action. The less you fear, the more power you will have and the more fully you will live. So when I think of that quote, to me, it really comes down to, we all have fears, right? But what we know and what is demonstrated is that when you slowly start to overcome your fears, you start to move forward in life. Whether you're scared of the dark, scared to fail, scared to mess up. Once you overcome those fears, you start to move forward. So when I think of this quote from Curtis Jackson, that's really what makes me think of. So if you do have a fear out there, whether it's, fear of speaking in front of people, the fear of trying something new, a new career change, definitely, make that fear small, go at that fear, go straight into it. And I guarantee you'll come out bigger, stronger, and you'll have that growth that you always wanted. So, Wes, when you think about this quote, what do you think of when you think of fear?
Yeah, I think fear is all about being able to manage fear. And I think about something that Les Brown used to say, or he probably still does say it, that fear is false evidence appearing as real. And I think about, there's a video that you can find on YouTube where Will Smith is talking about the night before he went skydiving. And he's talking about all the fear, not being able to sleep, all of that. And he said when he stepped off the plane, when they finally pushed him and he was midair, it was the most peaceful, most blissful moment of his life. So everything that happened before that, that was all in his head. So I'll just leave you with this. A couple things from Zig Ziglar. He said, fear either stands for forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. So it's all about how you think about it. So fear is real. It's a real feeling, but usually what you're fearing is not a real thing to be feared. And you have to learn how to manage it and walk through it and rationalize the unrational.
Oh, that's sweet, man. I like that. I like that. Yes. I love that. I love that. All right. So now we move on to the main event. Reading the rental tea leaves.
Yes.
Obviously, this in this economy, this real estate market has definitely been interesting. And you don't really hear a lot of people talk about the rental market, but the rental market has actually been something to think about as well. So I'm going to let Wes expel more on that. Reading the rental tea leaves.
Yeah, so I came across an article where they were talking about a family in particular that was renting a property from an individual owner. And they got blindsided because that individual owner all of a sudden decided to take advantage of the hot market that we have right now. And they decided to sell the property. And this of course left the current tenants in a bind because they weren't prepared for that and they weren't expecting that. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, even though we have a rent moratorium going on right now, technically, I believe one of the circumstances under which a property owner or landlord can break their agreement with you, the renter, is if they're choosing to sell the property. So I just think it's a good time, if you're a renter right now, to kind of start thinking about what you need to do to become a homeowner yourself, and to not get blindsided, and to start kind of planning, what your next steps are as far as home ownership, if that's what you want to do. So come up with the plan, decide what you need to do, get the information, and then start acting on it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I totally agree exactly with what you're saying. And the thing is, when Wes says come up with a plan, I mean, he's not saying go out there and run out and buy a house right now. That's not what he's saying. He said come up with a plan. Whether your plan can take action in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. But you still want to come up with a plan, right? Because the thing is, like you said, with this whole rent moratorium going on, and right now I believe it's supposed to end June 30th. Not sure if President Biden is going to extend that. At this time, it's stayed at June 30th. And the thing is, too, one of the ways people can actually sell their house, is through this rent moratorium as well. So as a renter, you definitely want, to understand and really know what you what you can and cannot do legally, and also legally what the landlord can and cannot do, which is very important, right? Because you don't want to be caught off guard. You definitely want to, as Wes puts it, read the rental tea leaves. All right. So next we go on to hot topics. Hot topics. Yes. So a few weeks ago, there was this big event going down. The biggest boxing event ever. Two of the best boxers in the world connected. I'm kidding y'all. It wasn't two of the best boxers. I would say one of them is arguably one of the best boxers ever, and the other guy, likes to have fun on YouTube. So I'm
Yeah.
talking about the fight with Floyd, Money Mayweather, and YouTube star Logan Paul. So Wes, what did you think about that fight, that encounter?
I just thought it was an exhibition more than anything, that they did in good fun, but also to make a lot of money. Um, so for those of you who I heard, complaining and losing their mind about nobody getting knocked out, hey, sometimes you just got to acknowledge it for what it is. It reminded me a lot of, in Rocky, was it Rocky 3, when he fought Thunderlips, aka Hulk Hogan. You knew nothing was really going to come of that. So it was something that was done in good fun. And hey, they made a lot of money, so more power to them.
Yes, absolutely. And I believe Floyd Mayweather talked about that was like the a bank heist. I mean, that's what he
Right.
calls it. He's like the most successful bank heist he's ever had, right? And one of the things that stood out to me, when they were talking in the press conference, and they were, people were asking like, "Oh, you knock him out? Like, how was it?" and things like that, and how people aren't taking this seriously. And for him, he was talking about like one of the cool things he mentions, like this wasn't the biggest thing that happened in my week. He said the biggest thing that happened in my week was my daughter graduating. And that was cool. I could definitely see for me. I've been a long time Mayweather fan, so following him from his earlier career to now, definitely see a lot more growth in terms of a person, in terms of a father. You know what I mean? And for him to say something like that, I'm not sure. You know, 10, 15 years ago, he would have mentioned something like that, but now, maturing and understanding that family is most important. And one of the cool things he also says is that kids can't eat legacy, and that's a very sticking point. When he heard that, it hit me in a different way. I'm not sure how it affected people like in the room that were interviewing him, but it's a true point because your kids can't eat legacy. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you definitely, for the most part, most people want to provide something to leave their children.
Right.
Not just a bunch of debt, not just a bunch of empty promises. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna do this for you. So when it comes to leaving a legacy, one of the ways to leave a legacy is real estate. Real estate happens to be a product that continuously outdoes the stock market. Why is that? Because even if a home value goes down and you have tenants in the property, the tenants are still paying your rent. They're still paying market rent. You don't go to your tenant and say, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, my home value went down 20,000, so I'm going to deduct your rent price lower than that." No, you're still going to be charged the same amount of rent. And typically, we see rent increases about 1 to 3%, or sometimes 5% year after year. So this asset, even if the value of it goes down, you're still generating that cash flow on a consistent basis. Can't say the same thing for stocks, right? Because when stocks value goes down, stocks values go down. It is what it is. But when it comes to real estate, you can still generate that cash flow even if the product goes down in value, right? And that's definitely one of the great things about investing in real estate. And that's definitely one of the ways to really truly leave legacy. So if you're a buyer out there, and you're thinking of, why should you buy a house? Think of that as a reason for you because you want to leave legacy. You want to leave something for your kids, your grandkids, and so forth, right? So that's definitely, a sticky point that I got for the fight. Again, as Wes calls it, it's an exhibition. So I should say exhibition, right? It's not a fight. And the thing is, too, if you guys know Floyd Mayweather is not a brawler. He's not a knockout artist. Floyd Mayweather is a tactician. He outsmarts his opponents. He makes his opponents look like amateurs. That's Floyd Mayweather. That's who he is. Floyd Money Mayweather. That's his name. So, anything else you want to touch on that, Wes?
No, I just love the way he said that. Your kids cannot eat your legacy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes, absolutely. All right. So next we go on to the market update. So the market update. All right, Wes, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so mortgage rates have gotten a little better over the last couple of days. And, sometimes I really hate talking about mortgage rates because this is kind of the game. You know what I mean? They go up, they go down. It's like the hokey pokey. Okay. That's what happens. Until we see something over a long extended pattern, or something major happens, catastrophic happens, it really changes the dynamics of the market over a long period of time. There's not much to talk about in the way of rates. Like I said, we're a little better this week than last week. We know at some point, we're all expecting that inflation will have a bigger impact again, but we're not quite there yet to where the investors are running scared from it. Now, I will say this, the Fed the other day did mention, at some point, winding down their process of buying mortgage-backed securities. So we'll have to keep an eye on that because it did throw the market in a tizzy, for the first couple of days after the Fed chair made that announcement. But we'll see what happens from there. Also, very important, we were talking about, homeowners who were, or investors, let me say, who were now trying to take advantage of the market and selling their property. Well, I understand why. First quarter real estate values increased by 1 trillion.
Wait, say that again.
1 trillion.
One more time.
1 trillion.
$1 trillion. Whoa.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yes, crazy indeed.
Yeah, so you have that, and then also something to keep an eye on. Just 35% of consumers now believe that now is a good time to buy a home. That's down from 47% a month ago in April. So, and we understand it. We hear it. I'm sure you hear from your clients, Care. I know I hear from my clients the frustration with not being able to find what they want or being outbid every time they put an offer in, things like that. And all I will say in that regard is that now that there are consumers who are kind of taking themselves out of the equation, might be the best time for you to keep pressing on, and just keep taking your time to look and see what you can find. And, eventually you'll get into a position to where you find the home you want and your offer gets accepted. Because one thing I can tell you, I'm still doing loans for people buying homes. I still have people in escrow. I'm sure you still have people in escrow. So at some point it works out. You just have to do the work, be patient. And I understand it's hard because submitting an offer on a home, it's an emotional investment. We all know that it's an emotional investment, and it's like getting your heart broken, you know, every time you approach someone. But eventually you'll find the right one.
Oh, that's like that. Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, too, I mean, if you're a buyer out there, and you want to buy a house, you're financially able to purchase a house, you're ready to take on the responsibility, then you should be out there looking at houses. Now, I mean, if you aren't satisfied with the representation that you have, you should also check around, talk to people, right? And, that's also an option too, right? Because the thing is, we see people winning in this market. Whether we're working with buyers to get their offers accepted, whether we're working with sellers and getting their homes on the market and getting them sold, we are helping our clients win. And as long as we continue to do that, this is still a very opportunistic market for both buyers and sellers, right? We're helping buyers buy homes. We're helping sellers sell homes, right? So we are seeing both sides winning the battle of real estate, right? And again, like I
Right.
said, if you're not satisfied with your representation, check around, ask questions, reach out to us, right? And we would love the opportunity to meet with you and explain, our game plan of how we've been able to help our clients successfully buy, sell, and invest in real estate. So, yeah. All right, perfect.
Yep.
Now we move on to one of my favorite segments of the show, the West Files.
One of my favorite parts too. Okay, so the West Files is basically where I take a moment and share something I'm experiencing or have experienced with a client I'm currently working with or I've worked with in the past. And I'm taking those experiences to pass on a message and a learning lesson for you so you can do it bigger, better, faster, stronger next time. So, this week is all about great expectations and setting great expectations. So I'll just tell you every now and again, I have the opportunity to work with a borrower or a buyer who was working with a different lender prior to working with me. And a lot of times you can really see the difference. And I'm not just trying to toot my own horn here, but you can really see the difference in the way they're set up by the other person that they were working with and the level of service they get with the other person they were working with compared to working with me. And so I think part of the reason for that is that a lot of people don't really know, especially first time home buyers, what they should be able to expect out of their lender or their realtor. And so they settle. A lot of times they come in contact with these people by going into their bank or they go on Zillow or, they see the preferred lender, preferred realtor on Redfin, and they don't really know that those people may not necessarily be great to work with. They just pay the money to be front and center in those forums. So if you go to a bank, you will probably have a professional experience because the bank pays the loan officers there to be professionals. What they don't pay them to do is to go above and beyond. They're there to pre approve you, get you a pre approval letter, and wait for you to find a property and then put your file in process and pass it down the line, the assembly line. I'm telling you that if you want to have a good experience buying a home as opposed to a trying process, then you need to raise the level of your expectations. You know, you need to want more and you need to more importantly understand that you deserve more. So just to give an example, hey, we all use the term banker's hours, right? We all know what that means, right? Hey, that's cool. And I understand that, a lot of the guys who work for the banks, they're on salary or hourly. They don't get paid to do overtime. And they don't get paid to work weekends a lot of the times. But unfortunately, most of the magic in our industry happens on the weekends. When you want to submit an offer, that usually happens on the weekend. When you need a pre-approval letter for a particular property, that's usually going to happen on the weekend because that's when you have time to look at properties. So having someone who's available during those times, that's important. And then also one of the big things is one of the most important things, I go over the loan estimate after we complete the pre-approval. The loan estimate is the most important document in a loan process because it spells out all the details of the loan. Your loan officer needs to be sitting down and going through that with you in detail. Because if not, you're going to end up in a situation with the buyer that I dealt with today. They got a loan estimate from the lender. It looked like a completely different language. And I had to sit down with them for 20, 30 minutes, go through all the details on the cost, their payment, all of that. And they were so thankful for it. They're like, I didn't hear any of this from either lender. I've never seen this document before. So it's very important. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't care if you're buying. I don't care if you're selling. I don't care if you're financing, whatever you're doing. There are people out there who are going to do just enough or just what's required. And then you have people who hold themselves to a higher standard that want to be the best, that put in the work to be the best. And you need to set your sight on those people to work with. Don't settle for average.
Oh, love that. Love that. Don't settle for average. I never settle for average. Seriously. In my life, I never settle for average.
Right.
Average has never been good for me. Seriously. If I settle for average, I wouldn't have married my wife. Clearly my wife is above average, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, shout out to the wife over there, you know? She's above average. She's not average. She's made me better. So shout out to all that. And thank you, Wes, for the Wes files. Greater expectations. Greater expectations. I love that. And now we move on to the city spotlight. All right. So this week's city is the city of Yorba, also known as the city of gracious living. So Yorba was established in, I believe it was 1865. Yorba, average income Yorba is a little over 127K. When I say that, average home price right now in Yorba is about 1.24. Average sales price in Yorba right now is 1.23. Average list price to sold price is about a little over 101%. So what we're seeing in the city of Yorba is that whatever's listed, chances are it's selling over list price. And average days of market in the city of Yorba right now is about looks like it's about 16 days. So day one, home comes to the market. Day 16, it is sold. That's the average. And when I say average, remember, that's the average. So that means some homes sell sooner than 16 days. Some of them take a little longer, right? But the average number is about 16 days. And as I stated, average price is about 1.23 24 that we're seeing there. So yeah, so that's the city of Yorba Linda, and also let Wes share some fun facts about the city of Yorba Linda as well.
Okay, so one of the places I really like there, I've been to several events there, parties, whatever. The Black Gold Golf Club. Uh,
Yes, give it up for
that's a
the
really
Black Girl
nice place.
Golf Club. Definitely one of my favorite places as well.
Yes, I've been to a few parties and events there. Really cool. Also, another place I've been to on a few different occasions for events is the Richard Nixon Presidential Library.
Not a, right? Shout out to
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The former president. So you have the Susanna Bixby Bryant Museum. As far as some of the events, they have a 4th of July spectacular. They have summer recreation programs. They have a lobster fest. Sounds delicious. They have concerts in the park. They have a celebration of the arts. The, I might butcher this name here, Dochinsky Harvest Festival. They also have movies in the park, family art experience, and then they also have a cultural arts center. So they have plenty of that going on. And then as far as the school district, they have a lot of great schools. They're in the same school district with Placentia. So you have the Yorba Placentia School District, and they service also parts of Anaheim, some of those schools. So yeah, a lot going on there, and sounds like a great place to raise a family.
yeah, absolutely. So give it up for Yorba Linda. Yeah. So if you're interested in Yorba Linda, have any questions about buying, selling, or investing in Yorba Linda, you definitely message us. We'd be more than happy to help you. So once again, let's give it up for the city of Yorba Linda, the land of gracious living. All right. Now we move on to in the news. So Wes, what is in the news?
Well, let's see. Um, Last week, Cal OSHA was considering revisiting the what they call the conflicting rules about the new COVID protocols.
Okay.
So basically, they're still trying to figure out how do we deal with the honor system aspect, because right now, as it is, you're not required to wear a mask unless you haven't been vaccinated, but there's no way to verify whether or not you have. And there's probably going to be some challenges on that one way or the other, because you're going to have people that are going to feel like it's a violation of their privacy if you start asking them to verify that they have indeed been vaccinated. But then at the same time, you're also going to have businesses who still want to take precautions and make sure people are wearing masks and all that. So I believe they met this week, and then any laws that they pass or put into place are going to take at least 10 days. And I know Governor Newsom was potentially, as he was rallied by the business owners, to kind of throw in an executive order to kind of make it so that we stick to the CDC protocols and nothing changes. So we'll see what goes on with that. NBA playoffs. So I believe the Clippers are playing tonight. They had a great win the other night that nobody expected, because they were playing on the road in Utah, one of the toughest places to play in the NBA, without Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
And they will be playing tonight without Kawhi Leonard as well. But they're currently up in the series 3-2. You have the Atlanta Hawks, I believe, playing tonight, and they have a chance to close out on the Philadelphia 76ers. So that will be pretty interesting as well. I am really loving Mr. Ice Trey Young, great point guard. We have the Nets going to a game 7. Going to a
Did not
game
see that
7.
coming, did we?
You know what? We did not, but I always put it out there when people ask me who I thought would win it all. I would always say the Nets, barring any injuries. And what happened? Kyrie Irving went down with a bad ankle sprain. Then James Harden was gone with the hamstring. And even though he played the last 2 games, he is clearly not himself. Clearly not himself. So, we'll see what happens with that. And of course, the Phoenix Suns have already punched their ticket to the Western Conference Finals. So we'll see how the matchups shake out for the next week. But, the injury bug has been really, really bad this year, and it's had a big impact on the playoffs. And I think maybe the league should have taken a little more time off before they started the next season, maybe. Because they had a lot of back to backs. They only had, a few, I think maybe a couple months off, and you can just tell that something's happening with that injury bug, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I mean, it's like common sense, right? It seems that way, right? I mean, if you're limiting a person's ability to really rest, get some R&R, get their muscles relaxed, you know what I mean, and for
Mm-hmm.
you to cut that, prematurely, this is the results you're going to get. So I'm hoping, once this season's over, that they'll understand that, hey, players need rest. Your body needs a rest. And the last thing we want is to see a host of other players go down next season, because of injuries.
Yep.
We just can't have that happen.
Right. Definitely. So, and the most important thing is that, you know, the fans, because the fans deserve the best product that can be out there. And I know everybody wanted everything to happen right away. They wanted the season to restart. But now you got to ask yourself, would you have rather waited an extra month to be able to be watching playoff basketball right now with all teams fully loaded and you're watching the best of the best play the best of the best? Or was it cool to have that first month of the season where you're watching okay basketball and games that don't really matter? And now that we're toward the tail end, most of the great players are not there, and you're not sure if whoever's going to win it all is really going to deserve to win it all. And I don't want to say they don't deserve to win it all because they're putting in the work, they're doing what they have to do. But let's be honest, if you happen to, so if you're Milwaukee and you're facing a Nets team without two of the top, let's call it 10 players, for some people, it's two of the top 5 players in the NBA not on the team or not at full strength, that makes a huge difference. Huge difference. So we'll just have to see and hope that these people can get healed up and rested up, and we see better competition going forward.
Yeah,
So
I mean, yeah, absolutely, and I totally agree. It's like you win the championship. Are we going to put an asterisk next to
yep,
it? You know what I mean? And then also too, I mean, looking at other sports, I mean, like MMA for instance, right? There's a protocol in terms of how soon you can actually get back into the ring, so to
right,
speak, right? There's a protocol to that, and the reason why is because injuries. They don't want to
right,
see injuries, and the thing is too, I mean, for most fans out there, we want to see the best version of yourself compete against the best version of your opponents.
mm-hmm.
We don't want to see people going in there that can't really deliver on the best of their abilities because of the lack of, of rest needed for their bodies to perform at the highest level.
Right,
So I'm hoping after the season, they will get that deserved rest because I want to see the best. I want to see the best versions of these players play.
right.
True athleticism. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for the league, I mean, you got to ask them if it's costing them money because let's be honest, the Lakers are a big brand. LeBron's the biggest brand there is in the NBA, and he's no longer in the playoffs. And as good as these other teams are playing, um, as entertaining as it might be, and there are some great games. If you don't have the king there, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but I would love to see what the ratings are in these games in LA, which is like the second biggest media market in the United States. So if you're losing those numbers because the Lakers aren't involved, and there's probably a sprinkle of Clipper fans still watching, but
Give it up for those Clipper fans out there. Give it up for those Clipper fans out there.
yeah, all two of them, Billy Crystal and Clipper Darrell.
Oh man, oh man.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and then lastly, Juneteenth is now an official holiday. It's official federal holiday, and it does actually have an impact on the lending world just like other holidays do. So, if you have that 3-day right to rescission or the 3-day waiting period once a client signs the closing disclosure, where normally Saturday would count as one of those 3 days, Saturday will not count this year. And it won't count, the 19th every year. That's going to be a day. It's a federal holiday. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah. And also, I just saw this come across earlier today. I don't have the real, more deep information about it, but they were talking about possibly changing, I believe, like the FHA ratio in terms of how it deals with student loans. I think I may have came across that because I know initially right now it's like 1%. That's how they treat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
think
and I hope they. Yeah, and I hope they do change it because conventional financing, which is, or what we call agency, and those are loans that are underwritten to the guidelines of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Mm-hmm.
They use an approach when it comes to student loans that is favorable. So how they do it is, if I pull your credit report and there's a payment that's reporting on your credit report, that's the payment I get to use when I calculate your debt to income ratio, right? And then if there is no payment reporting on the credit report, I use either 1% of the balance if it's Fannie Mae, or 0.5% of the balance if it's Freddie Mac, and apply that as the payment. Here's what FHA does. If I pull your credit report and it's reporting the student loan payment, I still have to calculate the 1% of the balance, and whichever payment is greater, that's the one I have to apply. And me personally, and I understand that, they're being conservative, but I personally don't think that's, fair, because if you only have to pay $90, then you only have to pay $90, and that's what should be considered against your income. And then they already do a couple things that you don't deal with on conventional loans anyway to trip you up, where even if your spouse isn't on the loan, their debts still are included in your debt to income ratio. So I hope they do take a look at that and revisit that standard. And then another thing too, as well, if you have a collection account, you still have to take into account a payment for the collection account. But you're not paying the collection account. That's why it's in collections. It's going to just drop off at some point, but you still have to account for it with an FHA loan, where it's conventional, you don't.
Yeah, so it seems like we need to follow conventional standards.
Yes. Oh, I did something really cool this week too. I'll just end it with this on the news. I did something really cool. So I helped someone refinance last month. We funded their loan maybe 3 weeks ago. So I helped them lower their rate significantly. Then they hit me up like a week later and they said, Wes, I want to take out a second mortgage or a HELOC because I want to add on a mother-in-law suite to my property. Can I do that? Can I kick it? Yes, you can. They funded the second loan already. Money's in the bank. They will soon have their mother-in-law quarters added onto the house. And like I said, they went from a higher interest rate and no additional monies to a lower interest rate and more additional money.
Nice. I love that.
Yep.
That is awesome. So that is in the news. Now, obviously, this is Father's Day weekend, so we definitely want to take the opportunity to wish all the fathers out there, biological, father figure in people's lives, definitely want to wish you all a happy Father's Day.
Likewise.
All right, perfect, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your comments, likes, and shares, and all that good stuff. And until next time, see you on the next episode.